From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. A motor vehicle accident near Lathrop High School and Ryan Middle School sent one person to the hospital this morning.
A woman about to pick up her child from school was turning left from Cowell Street to Kennecott Avenue when her Subaru was T-boned by an Isuzu trooper running a red light. The accident caused minor injuries to one individual inside the Isuzu and blocked access to both schools. Now, fortunately, no one else was injured in the accident. Fairbanks police officer Ron Dupuis says the Isuzu driver was cited for the accident. He adds that people should be extra mindful of others on the road.
You know, we just advise people when you get the road conditions that are slick, we just need to slow down. You know, sometimes the speed limit may say 35, but you can't stop at a red light or a stop sign at that speed limit, so you need to slow it down.
Jury selection began this morning for a 54-year-old man accused of kidnapping and attempted murder. Norman Beverly faces 10 criminal charges from incidents in March of 2011. Court documents allege Beverly attempted to kill his then-girlfriend and later assaulted and kidnapped her. The charges also include stalking of the same female victim. Beverly has maintained his innocence throughout the years, even going as far as protesting the investigation with a hunger strike while in custody at Fairbanks Correctional Center. Beverly's trial was delayed from last week after his attorney attempted to submit numerous motions in the case, all of which were denied this morning by Superior Court Judge Michael McConaughey prior to jury selection. Opening arguments are scheduled to begin tomorrow.
The Senate Finance Committee put eyes on a pair of bills today to fund state government in the coming fiscal year. Amid falling oil prices, funding these bills will reportedly be an arduous task. State Management and Budget Director Pat Pitney presented Senate Bill 26 to appropriate funds towards the state capital budget and SB 21 to appropriate funds toward the state operating budget. Pitney offered few new details, promising a more comprehensive report to the committee on the two bills tomorrow. The operating budget could see anywhere from a 6.5% to 9% reduction as the state faces a $3.5 billion budget gap. Pitney forecasts drawing nearly $7 billion from the state's savings over the next 2 fiscal years to fund state operations. She says there will be public outcry as the committee works through both spending plans.
The public discussion just based on these reductions are going to be loud. This will not be viewed as low-hanging fruit. People will say, you know, how could you choose this over this?
Alaska Education Commissioner Mike Hanley and State Board of Education Chair Esther Cox testified before the House Education Committee this morning. Among the topics of discussion was cooperation between the State Board of Education and the University Board of Regents. Regents have been critical of K-12 education as 50% of Alaska high school graduates are required to take remedial courses upon entering the university system. Cox told the committee that the Education Board has already met with Regents with an additional joint meeting scheduled for June here in Fairbanks. The goal of the meetings is to, quote, get on the same page in terms of preparing Alaska high school students for college courses. Representative Jim Culver of Palmer is skeptical of the Regents' claims.
Let's not blame the school districts if the enrollment policy is to let everybody in and they're not ready for this higher level of academics. So I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to it. Mr. Chairman, you know, I just want to try to let you all know that it's not really that, as the university says.
All right, when we come back, a scientist gave the community an update on how involved the University of Alaska Fairbanks is in science projects.
Also in our weekly military report, Monty Bowen looks at what the military community is doing to reduce the suicide rate. Those stories are next. Please stay with us. And welcome back. A Fairbanks teenager was taken into custody after being charged with assaulting a police officer. 18-year-old Angela Petrick was arraigned in Fairbanks District Court on a single count of assault or battery on a police officer, which is a misdemeanor. Court documents say police found Petrick with a male friend and both were heavily intoxicated. Petrick allegedly kicked and pushed the officer once he attempted to arrest her friend for purchasing alcohol for her, a crime given that she is underage. Petrick was taken to Fairbanks Correctional Center where her blood alcohol content registered at .233. Yesterday, she pleaded guilty to the charge and was ordered to pay a $300 fine plus 1 year probation.
A Galena woman faces charges after allegedly hitting a pedestrian while driving intoxicated. 63-year-old Glenda Huntington is charged with leaving the scene of an accident and DUI. According to court documents, Huntington struck a male victim who then rolled up and over the hood of the vehicle and was seriously injured. Troopers say Huntington got out of the vehicle to check on the man at the side of the road and then drove away. Now, police later located her at a bar in Galena where she was taken into custody. The victim was medevac to Fairbank for treatment of his injuries.
The dean of the University of Alaska Fairbanks School of Fisheries and Ocean Sciences, Michael Castellini, spoke to a curious crowd at the Westmark Gold Room last night. He shared waves of information about the university's most advanced research vessel, the Sekuliak, a state-of-the-art floating science laboratory equipped to operate in ice-choked waters. Castellini has been involved with the ship since the original design was put on paper. He shared videos and stories of how the vessel was constructed while engaging the audience with amusing behind-the-scene anecdotes, such as the time the satellites weren't functioning due to a bird's nest. The ship is owned by the National Science Foundation and operated by UAF. It was built in Wisconsin and made a long journey for its arrival in Ketchikan.
Living an example of how the ice impacts us on a daily life. So as the ice changes, it's easy to say the ship's going to be right there along with it, following the ice edges it moves, understanding what the animals are doing, understand how the various blooms of the plants and the animals that occur every spring in the ocean, how that impacts fisheries. We'll be smack dab in the middle of it.
The rate of suicide in the military is the highest it's ever been, and the Department of Defense is working to end that. Monty Bowen takes a look at ways they're trying to stop the trend in this week's military report.
This week we told you about Alaska U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan pushing legislation to provide services for veterans to prevent suicide. It was the Clay Hunt Suicide Prevention Bill.
This bill is named for a true American hero, a decorated Marine who fought in Afghanistan and Iraq, who struggled with despair and ultimately took his own life.
During his military service, Sullivan saw the tragedy of suicide up close and personal.
As an officer in the Marine Corps, both on active duty and in the reserves, I've personally witnessed the struggles, at times tragic, that some of our servicemen and women undergo.
20 years ago, soldiers thought going to a behavioral health specialist for help with suicidal thoughts would end their career. In 1995, one soldier attempted suicide and ended up in a psychiatric ward at Fort Hood. He was a different soldier then, in a different army.
When I did ask for help from NCOs, my NCO specifically, they didn't come when they should have. I think at that time, people really didn't think that this kind of stuff happened, and so when you asked for help, they didn't take it seriously.
He ended up getting the help he needed.
Made me kind of wake up and realize what was going on, and that pain is not permanent, you know, and what I was doing was trying to create a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I'm sure that you've heard that before.
His message is, if you feel like you need help, come ask.
Come ask. That's what all of us NCOs for, all leaders for that, amongst other things, but to help the welfare of our soldiers.
And he is proof that it didn't hurt his career. He was a specialist then. He is a first sergeant now. This is Monty Bowen reporting.
The Military Report is brought to you by Stanley Nissan. Innovation for all.
Okay, turning our attention to sports now. Joe Cook is up next with a preview on this weekend's Yukon Quest.
Also a great comeback in high school hoops last night. Who won? Find out after the break.
Welcome back, Interior Alaska. Joe Cook here in the sports seat for you with your local Wednesday sports. The 32nd running of the Yukon Quest begins this Saturday. We recently talked to a couple of legends as they prepare for their 1,000-mile journeys. One of the storylines of the 2015 Yukon Quest is a musher establishing a dynasty and a local living legend making a comeback. Alan Moore will look to win his third straight Yukon Quest title. He won his third straight Copper Basin title in January.
And I do have something on my back. I guess everyone's after me now. I better be on my A game or they're definitely going to catch me. I just hope that everything goes right and we can keep enough dogs that we're up in the upper echelon at the end of the race. And I think we have an advantage if we are, because this is our home territory right here. they know where the finish line is, and they will go very fast to the finish line, so keep that on our side.
Lance Mackey in his comeback kennel is aiming to do just that. After a year off for personal and health reasons, he's looking to reclaim his spot as the best in the business, but that will take some time.
I have one veteran dog. Everybody else is 2 years old this month, so it's a little bit intimidating to think I'm going to take a bunch of high school kids basically and go play against a bunch of professionals, you know. It isn't about my race performance this year as much as it is getting some experience on these dogs and getting my head back in order and focus on the future of this kennel, not just this year.
Sponsorships are extremely important, and both camps receive significant ones. Mackey's dog food sponsor is an Italian dog food producer in Forza 10, while Moore and his wife Ali Zirkle of SP Kennels are backed by Verizon Wireless.
So this year we're hoping that the team, which is the handler crews that have to follow the dog teams down the trail, they're going to be able to be in constant communication, which is an important part of the race.
There are some changes in this year's race. The mandatory stop in Dawson City has been decreased from 36 hours to 24, but other mandatory 4-hour stops like in Eagle or Central will be increased to 6 hours. Two Rivers will be an 8-hour stop. Mushers can also pick a 6-hour stop in Brayburn or Carmax.
I didn't get a finish in 2013, and my goal for the quest is to finish with some dogs that have a bright future, and back to the roots and why I did this, and that's for the love of the sport, and just say thank you for supporting what we do. This is my way to say that, sincerely. Keep racing.
Moore and Mackey will compete in a 26-musher field that has 10 rookies and favorites like Brent Sass, Matt Hall, Jeff King, and Hugh Neff, to name a few. This year's purse is $127,000. Saturday, the 32nd Yukon Quest will start, and the 1,000-mile journey will end in Fairbanks. Alaska senior skier Logan Hahnemann is representing the interior on the world stage. Tuesday, he had a top 25 finish in the 1.3K Classic Sprint at the Under-23 World Cross Country Ski Championships in Kazakhstan. His time of 3 minutes 10.7 seconds was 23rd overall. He was also 21st in his heat, and he made the quarterfinals. The next race is the 15K Freestyle. Back in Fairbanks, two Nanoks won the last two Best Cup races over the weekend, and Ty Marquette, a sophomore, won the 10K in 37 minutes and 11 seconds and the 5K in 17:23. Fehrenbach won Saturday's 10K men's race in 29:10 and then won Sunday's 10K in 29:43. Next for UAF are the Central Collegiate Ski Association Championships on February 13th in Minneapolis. Tuesday night features some O'Rourke Conference basketball at Boileau Hall. Monroe hosted the Hutchinson Hawks. In the girls' game, Jenny Benson and Leah Stepovich coaching up their teams. Hutch was in control for most of this game. They were up 29-13 at the half and 40-17 in the third. Ashley Stark, she scored a game-high 14 for the Hawks. But Monroe, they made some shots and went for a comeback. Andy Clark, she scored 8 of her 12 points in the fourth quarter. After that Maggie Wallace bucket, Maya Hadukovic, she made it an 8-point game with 1:30 left, erasing a 23-point deficit. But Hutchinson, they stayed tough. They calmed down and they made enough plays to hold the Rams off. The Hawks win 49-42 and improved to 4-2 in conference play. They're 11-6 overall.
Leah did what good coaches should do, and she started pressing us and doing some things to some of my more inexperienced kids. But it was good. It was a good experience for them to really feel that pressure. And then Monroe was able to make shots, and it got close. I don't know if I can say it. I wasn't worried. I mean, definitely the run was coming, but I felt like our kids then did what they needed to do to hang on to it and secure the win.
In the boys' game, it was back and forth in the first quarter, down 5-0. Hutch went on an 8-2 run. They led 8-7 under Morgan John 3. Anthony Peter, he led the Hawks with 8 points as well. But Monroe, they responded with a 13-0 run. They would just run away with this one. Jalen McCullough, he scored a game-high 21 points from Monroe. Connor O'Kelly, he had 10 points. And freshman Devon Davis, he made a brilliant move and hit a shot at the first half buzzer. He had 10 points as well. The Rams were up 47-22 at the half. Monroe wins big, 74-33. They are now 11-3 overall and 4-0 in the Aurora. And that's a wrap for sports tonight. Mike Schultz is next with your full weather forecast, and we'll catch you next time.
Well, everyone, welcome back in to our Wednesday night newscast. Mike Schultz with you once again, taking a look at the weather. Are you ready? Because the cold air is on the way. We'll tell you about it in just a little bit. Our photograph for tonight, this one a nice one, and once again seeing more sun dogs. There's the sun there, and there's one side of the reflection of the rainbow, and over here another side of the reflection. This one's sent in by Bethany Burton, and again a beautiful shot showing the entire Fairbanks area, taken from a higher elevation. As always, if you have a photograph to share with us, by means send to photos at ktvf11.com. Our almanac, today's high 11 below. The low last night, not quite 30 below. The record high was 42 in 1941, but in 1947 got down to 56 below. Our sunrise and sunset about 7 hours and 24 minutes. That's a gain of 7 minutes from yesterday. And here's our weather statement. First of all, severe cold temperatures are forecast all the way through the weekend. So ensure your auto and home or fuel are filled. In other words, make sure that your car's got full of gas and that your home has got plenty of fuel. Bring your pets in. People always forget to bring their pets in. The pets are very, very susceptible to the cold temperatures. Don't go anywhere alone. That's a good one to remember because you want to make sure that people know exactly where you're at, and it's always better to have somebody with you in case you have any problems. And make sure your car is in working order. Make sure everything's working on it because it's going to get cold and everything's going to slow down. And your gas is going to also be not that great, your gas mileage. All right, we'll keep that in mind. And as far as our aurora, once again, we have a moderate level 3 going on. And we have, once again, an air quality alert for North Pole. They're in an unhealthy category, while Fairbanks is under a unhealthy for sensitive group status. And this is lasting until Friday at 5 p.m. Okay, got those out of the way. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on across the state. And you can see, once again, clear skies everywhere you look. And that's going to continue with that high pressure building in. Elsewhere across the state, here's what's going on. Over southeast Alaska, the winds are blowing around the Juneau area and just mainly cloudy skies at Ketchikan. It's cold in Anchorage, 16 degrees there. Kodiak looking at 38 degrees, and up and down the west coast, once again, mainly cloudy skies, a little snow in the inland part of the southwest part of the state. 25 below at Barrow and 35 below at Fort Yukon. Lower 48 weather, let's take a look at there and see more rain falling across the Pacific Northwest. It's not too bad up and down the west coast, although a little more rain around the San Francisco area. Dallas at 57 degrees, Minneapolis 15. More snow across the northeast, and they just cannot get away from that, it seems like. Thunderstorms rumbling over the southeast, and Chicago looking at 20 degrees. Now on our satellite and radar, once again, a little band of snow moving through the Chicago area, and this area of low pressure is expected to once again bring more snow to the northeast. They don't need that. Thunderstorms rumbling across the deep south, you saw that. And a band of more showers and rain moving across the Pacific Northwest. Now the overall outlook today, as you can see, tomorrow we're looking at heavy rain and windy conditions up and down the west coast once again. And the jet stream has changed a little bit. It's not quite diving so far south, so mainly the cold air will remain across the northern sections of the country. Down to the south, it'll be very nice, but rain expected in Southern California over the weekend. All right, back to Alaska for tomorrow. Barrow will be cloudy, sunny skies for Nome, and cold with ice fog in Fort Yukon. Here in the interior, a little morning ice fog, then burning off, giving way to sunny skies for Fairbanks, Healy, and Delta Junction. Over southeast Alaska, looks like winds are going to be very strong in the Juneau area with scattered clouds for Ketchikan. While out to the southwest, looking at partly cloudy skies at Cold Bay, sunny skies in Bethel, and mostly sunny at Kodiak. And down around the Anchorage Bowl, the only thing we're looking at is some strong blowing snow problems for Valdez and the Thompson Pass area. Otherwise, sunny conditions in Homer and Anchorage. All right, time once again for our kids' weather. And this week, talking with the kids from University Park Elementary School. Tonight, here's a question from a young man.
Hi, my name is Mark. I'm in Miss Heine's third grade class at U Park Elementary School. And my question for the weatherman is, do satellites run on solar power?
That's an excellent question. I didn't know myself. Finally, I had to go and look that up and found out that, yes, most of the satellites out there are run by the solar panels. So it's good to know that. Good question, Mark. And, of course, tomorrow night, actually, thanks again once again to Mount McKinley Bank. Tomorrow night, the teacher will be here with an interesting weather fact about lightning, one of my favorite subjects. All right, here's your forecast for the remainder of the night. 35 below. With severe cold temperatures continuing and ice fog likely developing by morning. Tomorrow's forecast, 15 degrees below zero, patchy ice fog, and then sunny and bitter cold once again by evening down to 40 below. And as you can see here, looking at 40 below all the way across the board until maybe Monday night when temperatures will slowly start to moderate a little bit. Looking at also ice fog, and daytime highs will really be struggling to get above the 20 below mark. So the cold temperatures, one more last fling from Mother Nature, I guess the best way to call it.
There's nothing you can really say about that.
Kind of speechless, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty
Well,
much. Yeah.
Plug in your cars, put your extra snow pants in the back seats.
Yeah.
More and more, I'm
Do everything you can to be safe because it's very dangerous.
And with the ice log, make sure to keep your lights on and
all the time.
Take all the precautions.
All of that. Okay, thanks, guys. That'll wrap up this edition of the Fbx Evening News. We're glad you could join us.
Tonight on NBC Nightly News, leaders in the autism community speak out on the measles vaccine. That's next with Brian Williams.
And don't forget to join J.R. Lewis tomorrow morning for more news updates during the Today Show.
From all of us here at the News Center, have a good night.
Good night.